Well, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'm Bernard Bailey, and the president of the Committee for Economic Development, and it's certainly a pleasure to welcome all of you this evening. I'm fighting a bit of a cold here, but believe me, I'm highly motivated to get through this and get over it. My wife made it clear that I can't see my grandchildren on Thanksgiving if I don't get over this, so I'm working hard at it. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us tonight. And before we get started, I just want to say a few things. I know a few of you, a few of you I know are new to the Committee for Economic Development. The Committee for Economic Development is an organization that's really focused on formulating and trying to impact policies that really are in our nation's interests and developing solutions to do that. We've been at this now for 76 years. And when we started, it was all about statesmanship. What makes, I think, the Committee for Economic Development unique from so many other think tanks in this city is the fact that what we really focus on is taking your business hat, whether it's your company or your industry, and setting it aside and instead putting your American hat on and focusing on business policies that are truly in the nation's interests. And that's what tonight is about. Tonight we are going to honor Tom McInerney with our Leadership Award in the nation's interests. And he has been just an exemplary example of really what it means to be a business statesman. And we'll get into that a little bit later tonight and talk about Tom and his accomplishments. But before I do that, I want to start by recognizing our trustees. We're made up of 162 trustees in the Committee for Economic Development, the branch across academia as well as business. Most of our people come from the business sector and are leaders there. And I want to acknowledge them because it's really their support that's so critical to how we develop our policies and how we bring them forward. So thank you very much, and a round of applause for our trustees. Thank you. At the same time, none of this is possible without sponsorship, and we have a whole host of people and companies that have stepped up and sponsored us tonight. So I want to thank all of them. They're in the brochures as well as they will be highlighted here throughout the evening. But thank you very much for your sponsorship for this dinner this evening. But as I said, tonight is really about honoring Tom McInerney. This is his night, and I'm really happy for you, Tom, because I know how many people here tonight are here to really give you recognition for your career and your honor, and not to mention your beautiful family over there. I think the three daughters are here, aren't they? Would you mind standing up? Proud daughters. Uh-oh. Dad, you didn't think we had to do this, right? And tucked somewhere in that belly, they also have his first grandchild. So, is that? I couldn't tell, to be honest about it. So, anyway, it's great to have a family representation, and really a proud family. And as I spoke to your father, what I realized he's a much prouder father about all of this. So, thank you so much for honoring him. We're going to begin tonight. Really in a couple of different phases here. We're going to begin tonight by honoring Tom and giving him his award. That will be presented by Kathy Murphy, and Kathy will come up in just a second to make that award and introduce Tom. And then we'll have our dinner, and then afterwards we'll go off record, and Tom and I are just going to have a little fireside chat to kind of talk about his thoughts on business statesmanship, as well as his thoughts on his career and kind of the state of American business and politics today and the issues that we're facing. So as we do that, we'll go through that. But as I mentioned, Kathy is here tonight, and I want to introduce Kathy Murphy, who is the president of Fidelity Personal Investment. She has just a tremendous background, undergraduate from Fairfield University, who went immediately into law school and graduated with the highest honors from the University of Connecticut. But you really understand the wisdom of Kathy when you realize that she never went on to practice law, and instead she went right into corporate America. and has had a career in corporate America, primarily in the finance and insurance industries. And she and Tom intersected at several different points along the way. And you can see that she's just had a tremendously successful career, having been the CEO of ING U.S. Wealth Management. And today, as I mentioned, she is responsible for all of Fidelity Personal Investing, over 10,000 employees. And it is the largest IRA fiduciary in the world. They are one of the largest personal investment firms in the world, and has just had an extremely distinguished career. And I know Tom will talk a little bit about that because he takes a great deal of pride in the small part that he played in when Kathy worked with him. She has some pretty interesting boards that she's a member of. She's a board of governors of the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, on the board of directors of the Markle Foundation, and now, quite honestly, what I'm really envious about is that she is the vice chair of the National Football Foundation. Now that's impressive. And so with that, please join me in welcoming Kathy Murphy to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. It is delightful to be with all of you, and thank you, Bernard, and thanks to the Committee for Economic Development for your leadership on so many important policy issues that face our nation and the business community. Your advocacy and research has been critical, and I think more now than ever, and so thank you for all you do. I am absolutely delighted to honor tonight's recipient of the Leader in the Nation's Interest Award. I've known Tom McInerney for 25 years, and I could tell a lot of stories. We've been through a lot together, and we've had a lot of fun. I was talking to Tom about this earlier, and some of our colleagues from the old days, and I said if I do share some of those stories, I would go seriously off script. And Tom reminded me that he has the last word tonight. So I am going to behave myself. So I met Tom when I was a young lawyer, and I was working with him on some deals that he led. And then I worked with him for much of the next decade, both at Aetna and ING. One of my responsibilities for part of that time was in running government affairs and public policy. And so as it applies to this award tonight, I got to see up close Tom's commitment to deeply engaging on the issues affecting the business community, national policy, as well as the communities where we work. And he over the course of time, he has played a leadership role in healthcare reform, in retirement savings reform, in fiscal responsibility, in long-term care reform, in economic development at the state and local level, and on education reform. And one of the other aspects of Tom that I will talk about, I'll come back to in a minute, is he early on volunteered to be the company's steward at Aetna of diversity, way back before a lot of people talked about it. That has been a passion for his for a long time, and it's something that's pretty remarkable about the impact that Tom's had. So as I thought about my remarks for Tom tonight, I reflected on Tom's development as a leader and what were some of the most important fundamental influences on him. And it really, for me, came down to his family, his faith, and the values he learned at Mother Aetna many years ago, where he and I both began our careers. At the time, Aetna was a large, diversified international company with a rich and impressive history of business statesmen who embraced leadership in a powerful and expansive way. They didn't just seek to maximize shareholder value. That was obviously important. None of the rest of it can be done unless you do your jobs well in leading these companies. But they ran businesses that were purpose-driven. where employees were a critical constituent and not merely an expense. Companies that were obsessed with doing right by the clients and who also wanted to make sure that they, in the communities where we worked and lived, there were strong partnerships so they could thrive. And I think about that kind of leadership in the world sort of we live in now, and I think Tom is one of the best examples of exemplifying that kind of leadership and the kind of leadership that we need more of in the world we live in today. But beyond Aetna and his formative years, seeing role models in action back in the old days, his family has also had a very important influence on him. His mom and dad, Mac and Mary Ann, his 3 sisters, as well as these 3 daughters, Erin, Kelsey, and Maggie, have been very important to him. I've seen firsthand that he's been a devoted son to wonderful parents. Tom's dad, a World War II veteran, recently passed away. But it has been so very clear over the years, and I've got to know his parents, how very proud they were of his son, and the strong influence that both Mr. McInerney and Mrs. McInerney had on Tom. I've also heard from his 3 sisters stories of Tom that clearly have helped keep him grounded, which is a challenge from time to time, including one sister who so routinely beat Tom in tennis that he had to switch to golf. And so he's become a good golfer, but it was because he couldn't make it on the tennis courts. I've also had the pleasure of watching these, since I worked with Tom and when these girls were growing up, I've also seen how much he adores these 3 girls, but also you can tell already they've got some spirit and they also keep him honest. So I don't know I've never asked Tom if he was an altar boy or a Boy Scout growing up. But when people have asked me when I was working for Tom, sort of, what's Tom like? And my common refrain was, he's such a Boy Scout. The deep integrity that he brings to everything, his commitment to always doing the right thing, regardless of the business impact, and his honesty were all such hallmarks of Tom's leadership. I even remember we used to fly back and forth to Amsterdam with a lot of regularity, and I'd watch Tom fill out that form, the customs form, and we'd get tchotchke from ING that you'd be taking, stuff that, who'd want it? He kept it, and he actually reported it on the form. So I don't know what value he put on it, but I was pretty impressed with that. So based on these core values coupled with Aetna's, he did learn early on what was expected and really required of true leadership. And he embraced every element of that leadership. To be clear, as I said, obviously you have to be really good at running businesses, and Tom excelled at that. He quickly rose through the ranks at Aetna, running a series of businesses, and he also, as part of that spirit of being a broad and expansive leader, made sure that he also contributed significantly to the communities that he lived in, to helping the company shape public policy, and always doing it in a way to make sure that the interests of our customers and of the nation were served in the process. He understood early on it has to be a win-win, not I win if you lose. When he joined ING, he quickly established himself as a go-to leader once again. And in addition to putting ING on a very different path in the U.S., he also brought that broad leadership. And one of the areas that he focused on at ING was education reform, in addition to retirement savings reform. And he devoted a substantial part of our company's foundation to trying to help children who deserve a really bright future, but too many are challenged. And Tom took that on as a very important issue that ING was going to make an impact on. And now at Genworth, he's doing it once again. becoming a leader on issues of aging, as well as helping the elderly more broadly in the importance of long-term care, not to mention building bridges in our connected global economy with places like China. So, as I mentioned earlier, throughout his career and in every job that he's had, he's been an absolute role model for pushing aggressively to achieve better diversity across the board. He's been on the leading edge of this really important movement, instituting practices 20 years ago that have remained best practices today, not just at the companies that he's led, but more broadly across corporate America. I've seen firsthand the impact that he's made with this stalwart commitment and the purposeful actions that he in some cases had to force to give more people an opportunity to make a bigger impact. And he's done this all while running very successful businesses because he knew that achieving diversity and giving more people a chance actually is part of becoming a successful business, both for your employees and for your customers. Now, when the CED called me to present this award, see if I was available, it's of course an honor to present the award, but since we're in the nation's capital, I'll invoke a point of personal privilege. While I certainly would have made time to honor Tom for this leadership award, I really jumped at the chance to be here tonight because I needed to pay back a debt of gratitude. You see, Tom took a chance on me when I was a lawyer, and he came to me and said, you know, I really think you should pursue a business career. And so finally said, okay, well, all right, what do you got? And the first business job he gave me was a collection of businesses with earnings of over $500 million. Now, I'm not sure I would have taken that chance on me, but he did. And that speaks so much to the importance that Tom places on really making sure he's got diverse perspectives, that, you know, opportunities are provided to all sorts of people in the organization, and the risks that he was willing to take to broaden the approach that the company's had. So I thank you, Tom, for the opportunities you provided to me, and I've seen the impact that he had on so many other people by that passion for doing right from a diversity and inclusion perspective. And again, it's not just about hiring people or putting people in the right jobs, it's about creating an inclusive culture. And I think that's also part of broad-based leadership. So, for Tom, in terms of what he's done to achieve such phenomenal business results in a wide-ranging career, for that business statesman role model behavior that, again, we need more of in this country, for the impact that he's had on important public policies in this nation for over 25 years, I'd say that Tom certainly is deserving of this award. We salute you, Tom, for your leadership, your passion, and for the impact that you've had for many people. Thank you.
Well, wow. I don't know who she was talking about. I don't remember half of those things. You know, I first want to thank Bernard Bailey, the CED, my fellow trustees, for this award. It's an extremely high honor because, as Kathy said, I have spent so much of my time in my career, 40 years now, not just in the companies I've worked for, but also on public policy issues where we connected. I think we've made some progress. As you know, we had a conference today, and I think as all the trustees who are here will say, we've got a long way to go. I want to give a special thank you to Kathy Murphy. I call her Murph. She is a former colleague. She's a dear friend. One of my proudest things in my career as a leader, and it's interesting that not every leader today that you see on the stage focuses more on the team and who they can develop over time, but it's always been my goal as a leader to leave behind a stronger organization, a more diverse organization, and to elevate the very best people wherever they are in the organization. So Kathy was a lawyer, but it was very clear to me, not so much to some of the Dutch men, but to me that she would be a fantastic CEO, or much better than I'll ever be. But so the opportunity was first to convince her that, the general counsel track is a good track, but you're really CEO material. And I know she went away and thought about it for a little bit, and I was delighted when she came back and said she wanted to take that path. So now I'm just delighted that I've played a small part in what is now a very fabulous career. You all know that Fidelity is one of the leading, if not the lead, money manager in the world, trillions of dollars or euros or whatever currencies. And she really is one of the very, very top leaders. So whatever I've done, you can multiply that by 10, but it is very gratifying to me that I feel like I got her on that track. I also want to thank all of my colleagues from Genworth, many of whom are here today. We've also made some progress both in our management team and our board at Genworth. I'm proud of that. In addition, there are 2 members of our board who are here, and I want to thank them both very much. Deborah Perry is one of our trustees, and Deborah, if you would just stand for and be recognized. And then we talked a lot earlier today at the conference about bipartisanship or the lack thereof, and it's my thrill that one of the first people that were appointed to the board when I came as the CEO was former Senator Ken Conrad from North Dakota, who oversaw several committees, but the Budget Committee in the Senate. I've gotten to know him over the years. He's been a great board member, and he's done so much. I wish there were more Ken Conrads in the government today, but I'm very glad that he's on our board and helping us so much. So, Senator, if you would stand as well. And I've always wanted to say this about my 3 daughters. I am so thrilled that they took time out of their extremely busy schedules to be with me here tonight. I also want to thank, sitting next to them, is Patty Capriel. So I do also credit a lot of my success to the universities that I attended, both undergrad and grad school. But Colgate gave me pretty much a full scholarship when I went. My parents, who Kathy referred to, said to all 5 of us, you're going to a public university unless you get a scholarship. So I want to thank Colgate and Patty Caprio, who's done alumni and foundation giving at Colgate, and she took the time to come from upstate New York to be here. So I really want to thank her for that. It's so 40 years in business. I never thought I would still be working at 40 years in business. But I have been very involved in public policy over the years, and one of the things that really attracted me to CED was that CED and I have a focus on some very similar issues in terms of public policy. So I just wanted to talk about 4 and just outline them because they are passions of mine, have been passions of mine for many decades, and they're also at the forefront of what CED is working on. And part of these issues were also addressed today at the conference we had this morning and this afternoon. So the first is fiscal policy and managing the budget issues. Both we all know about our $21 trillion debt, but also the significant challenges with entitlements and the entitlement obligations that we have. One of the things that I've always been focused on is health care. And particularly now, how do we get access on a somewhat affordable basis for seniors and the poor? So I've been very involved, and I'm still involved at Genworth on reforming or at least creating ideas to reform programs like Medicare and Medicaid. They're extremely important. The other area that I've been able to do something about in my career is promoting diversity and inclusion. My particular focus today is on ensuring that we have more C-suite executives in Fortune 500 companies that are women and minorities. We've made a lot of progress at Genworth on that. And also that we have more directors of Fortune 500 companies that are women and minority. I'm proud to say that at Genworth, 25% of our board members are women. It should be 50, and we're on that journey, but it's also an area that I think all companies in business and CED can do a lot to continue to promote that. And then finally, we had a session on this today, public education, improving public education, but also beyond that, how do we develop a workforce that will make this country and themselves successful in the 21st century? So those are just the core areas that I focus on. It's only a subset of what CED focuses on, but I'm really delighted that I've been a trustee for many years, look forward to many more years, and I want to thank CED and all the trustees for this great honor. I really appreciate it. I'm honored to be acknowledged in this capacity. Thank you very much.